God, the gracious, the merciful, dear researchers, scholars, friends, it's a new video, and today I'll be talking about psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics is one of the very important fields of linguistics and, of course, language. A lot of work has been done as far as psycholinguistics is concerned in the world, but unfortunately in Pakistan, we see that our researchers, they have not been able to do research as far as psycholinguistics is concerned. So what is psycholinguistics? As you know, the field, the world today, it believes in transdisciplinary activities and research. There was a time when we used to talk about pure disciplines, linguistics, literature, mechanical engineering, medical, biology, so on. But nowadays we see that the disciplines have got closer to each other. So first, after pure disciplines, we started researches and work on interdisciplines. Then we started working on multidisciplines, and then we started doing research and certain other activities, what we know as transdisciplines. So psycholinguistics, basically, it is a combination of two subjects. Two subjects have been combined in this one, psychology and language. Now, whenever we talk about psychology, basically, it is a very important field. Almost everybody in the world knows something of psychology, even if the person is unaware of this. So what is psychology, for example? Psychology also started back, very back in past, but actually with the William James book in 1986, I suppose, 1986, it became a pure discipline, and a lot of people, they teach William James as far as psychology is concerned. What is psychology? Psychology, there are a lot of definitions. People have given a lot of definitions of psychology, but what I usually say is psychology is behavior. The way you perform, the way you behave in society, the way you behave with your friends, that is your psychology. Now, this behavior, this understanding of society, this understanding of the world, understanding your friends, your relations, when you shape these relations in form of your language, so that is called psycholinguistics. How your language is developed, whatever you say, that is based on your psychology. And I usually say that psychology basically shapes your ideology. There is schematic conditioning that you have, the way you behave, the way you perform. You see, we see that different people, they are behaving and performing differently in different situations. So that is how their psychology is, how they have developed their paradigms. One person says that one thing is bad, and the other person says that is good. So what is behind that? That is psychology. One thing more I would like to here discuss, that mostly people say that there are many countries, they are developed countries, and then there are many countries which are underdeveloped countries. But I see almost in every country, all the facilities are there. But what is the factor that makes them developed or underdeveloped? That is their behavior, that is their attitude. Your attitude at the red signal, your attitude while you're buying something, you are pushing others and you're barging in, you are trying to get in the front rows. So all this is basically, it reflects our behaviors. So we need to change our behaviors, and once our behaviors are changed properly, then definitely our countries, they can become developed countries. Countries, yes, it's a factor that financially you should be strong, but that is not the only factor that makes our countries a developed country. For example, right now in the subcontinent, the people are buying the most expensive cars, but we cannot call them the developed countries. But yes, if your behaviors are good, if your relations are good, if your language is cooperative languages with others, and if you take care of others, if you support each others, if your ethics are good, your morality is good. So these are the things which make a country a developed country. So anyhow, psycholinguistic, basically, it has three main functions. Number one, acquisition of language. Number two, interpretation of language. Number three, production of language. For example, when a child is born, so at that time, how that child develops that language. So here we have got a lot of theories, particularly Noam Chomsky, who believes in genetics, that yes, there is LAD, language acquisition device, when first a child is born. So and there is a concept of universal. We'll be talking about these items, this content later on. Universal grammar, for example, language acquisition device. So, I mean, when the child is born, the child has predetermined language in the brain. So through that, the child is learning new words and learning that language. Secondly, interpretation of language. That is very important part of psycholinguistics, how we interpret. Whenever somebody speaks or says something, how we are going to interpret that. In literature, usually our fellows, they call it reader response theory, for example. Whenever you are reading something or listening to something, how you are responding to that. So after you have heard something, after you have listened to something, you react, you interpret it. And once you interpret it, you give feedback to your speaker. Most of the problems among friends and family members, they're just because of interpretation. So somebody has learned something in a particular context, but the other person is listening to that thing in another context. So the person who is speaker may be seeing that thing in some other aspect, but the listener may be interpreting it in some other perspective. So it is one of the complex activities of language, of linguistics and language both. So how somebody is interpreting something, and then we have our own schematic conditioning. For example, in society, whenever somebody speaks to us, how we respond to them. Or if I give an example of road rage, for example, you're driving and somebody is honking horns behind you. They are trying to give you lights behind you, so you are getting angry. So if you simply get to know that the person coming in the back is in a hurry, has got a patient in the car, so definitely we'll be giving way to them. So that is all our understanding, all our perception, how we are perceiving things, how we're trying to understand things. And the last point about psycholinguistics is production of language, how we produce language. So we'll be talking about it later on in detail. For example, whenever we are listening to something, it goes straight away into our auditory cortex. And from auditory cortex, it goes to the vernix area. There is a specific brain part in the brain which is responsible for interpretation. So once we have interpreted something, there is kind of a USB cable which gets connected from vernix to the Broca's area. That is called arcuate fasciculus. From the arcuate fasciculus, when the message is sent to the Broca's area, so there is the motor system right near the Broca's area, and some people believe that it is with the Broca area, in the Broca area as well. So Broca area produces the response, and then that response is given to the motor area. And through the motor area, there are particular neurons who give orders. I mean, once the language is decoded and the message is produced, and then through our tongue and our voices, language is produced. So these are the main factors that psycholinguistics focuses on: acquisition of language, interpretation of language, and production of language. So I hope you like this video, and whatever you want to listen more about it, do let us know in the comments. We'll be talking about that area as well. So just wait for the next video. Thank you so much.